Welcome to Copy 1010.
Hola.
Hi, Red. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We have a very special episode today. And there are cameras in the room, so we're video recording this, which is even better, something that we haven't done yet.
Numero uno.
Yeah. And this
Video.
is... What did you say?
Video killed a radio star.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Was that Spanish? I'm sorry.
Yeah, below the first part.
Oh, okay.
Number one.
Nice. Oh, numero uno.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, you know who's number one in our pod today?
Who?
Our guest.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that we have guests outside of the police station, so we are very excited to chat with them. Today, our guest is Advanced Team Leadership, also known as ATL. Advanced Team Leadership serves law enforcement through leadership training developed and taught by experienced police executives. They understand that law enforcement is a challenging and ever-evolving profession that requires skilled leaders and trained professionals. Their training covers the most critical leadership issues in 21st century policing: community engagement strategies and tactics, law enforcement response to mental health and officer wellness, and crisis management leadership. We have the privilege of speaking with them today because Avondale Police is in the final stages of one of their trainings, Culture, the Soul of the Organization. We have also been receiving training from them on the 4 pillars of servant leadership. ATL will soon, after Avondale, be heading over to Bowling Green, Florida in July to offer some similar training for them. So good for them. And I think they were in Utah
Shout out
recently.
Florida. Yeah. Utah.
Yeah, out in Utah. So they're making
Beautiful.
rounds around the country, hopefully.
Beautiful Salt Lakes.
Yeah, Salt Lakes and now the Florida Keys,
Yeah.
you know?
All the beautiful areas.
Yeah.
Get out of here before the weather turns on us.
Yeah,
Not bad if you can
It's
get
been a
it.
nice May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today we have Rich Slavin. Rich Slavin is an assistant chief of police for a duly accredited police department here in the Phoenix area. He leads 4 patrol districts that include special operations and detention, traffic, and DUI. Oh, nice.
Oh, no. Don't get started.
Were you a motor officer?
We don't have time
I
for
was
that.
not.
We don't
Oh,
have time
okay.
for that.
Okay.
No. I actually wanted to go through motor school because I know it's tough and I wanted to see what it was like, and they didn't want me to go through.
No.
So,
Okay.
They said no.
Yeah.
They wanted
They
to
said
keep you
no.
healthy and strong,
I
right?
guess so.
Yeah. That also includes street crimes investigation, collision reconstruction, a bunch of more stuff. Slavin was previously
bunch of more stuff.
a bunch. It's too long to list, really.
So many accolades.
Rich was previously the assistant chief of police of the Investigative Services Bureau, and that was a SWAT commander with more than 600 missions over the course of 14 years. Rich is also a United States Air Force veteran and has 23 years of law enforcement service. He holds a bachelor's degree in administration of justice from Grand Canyon University and a master's degree in organizational leadership from Northern Arizona University. Rich is a graduate of several highly competitive executive development courses, including the Arizona Leadership Program, the FBI Lead Command Leadership Training. Rich is also an adjunct professor for Northern Arizona University, where he teaches courses in law enforcement leadership. He has
lumberjacks.
Yeah, wow.
You know all the
All the, what do they call
Mascots.
them? Mascots, yeah.
Mascots.
Just try to interrupt him while he's on a roll.
He has also taught command, tactical, and leadership courses internationally for the DEA and the United States Department. All right, there's a lot more on there, Rich, but
That's
we're gonna get to Naomi.
Incredible.
I don't even know who that guy is.
A few more pages, but we're going to save those for later.
We also have Miss Naomi Keller. Naomi is an instructor with Advanced Team Leadership and is based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Naomi works for the U.S. Department of Justice, managing senior law enforcement leadership training and development programs. She is a member of FBI Salt Lake's crisis negotiation team. Prior to joining the Department of Justice, Naomi's private sector career was as a senior level executive with more than 25 years in brand management,
I'm old.
marketing, and advertising.
I'm old.
Started when she was 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't look old enough to have 25 years in marketing. And it's a stressful job, I'm sure, too.
Love my job.
Yeah. New product development, crisis management, and critical incident public relations. Naomi earned a bachelor's degree in psychology from Boston University. Rich and Naomi, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, man.
Boston,
Oh.
home of the Falcons.
Wow.
Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, what's
Patriots?
Boston use? Mascot.
Oh, they were the Bulldogs. No, sorry, the
Shoot.
Boston Terriers.
I don't know why I thought they were Falcons.
You were on a roll. You almost had 100% until you messed yourself
So
up.
close.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us here.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
a
for
real
being
honor
here.
for us to be here and be with the Avondale Police Department. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. And I just want to start with why ATL? I mean, you guys have a long career.
Origin story.
Yeah, origin story. You're obviously very successful. You've done well in policing. Why go out and do this training?
I think it all starts when you're a young person and you have some amazing leaders and mentors that for whatever reason stick their arm out and take you under their wing, and they just embody in you that spirit of living and learning and leading. And it just becomes a passion that you feel compelled to share with others. And so although we consider ourselves instructors, I'll tell you, every time we go somewhere, we believe in just facilitating and embracing all the wisdom that exists among all the folks here at Avondale, for example. They may have only had a few years on here at the police department, but they've been leaders in their churches and in their schools and all the things that they've done. And so we really just try and bring that out and remind folks how important they are in the world. And it's important to us to share that. So for us, it's a real labor of love. I don't know if you have anything to add on that, but
we believe in servant leadership, so putting others before self, and that is absolutely Avondale's motto. Everybody lives and breathes that, and I think it shows in the community relations you have. So to be able to bring our training to an organization that already is on board with, we're doing this for others, we're doing it for the greater good, just fits with our philosophy really well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you guys start ATL together?
we actually have another partner, Joe LeDuc, and he and I actually started it just through our own work in our own departments that we worked in. We started writing curriculum, and then we've written curriculum for a couple of universities in the way of leadership. We built a command college with National University, for example. And so, and then Naomi, we met, we got to meet Naomi when we taught at the FBI Command College, which is held in beautiful West Yellowstone, Montana.
Wow.
Outstanding
nice
place to go. Oh. And then she just became a part of the family really, really quick. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I was happy to read that bio of yours about marketing, branding. I imagine that's a pivotal part of the ATL story. Can you explain how that name, branding, image, how you all decided on that?
That's a great question because it was considered. It was on purpose. So ATL, attempt to locate, ATL, Atlanta, advanced team. It's not advanced team. It's advanced team, like you're sending an advanced team ahead to check things out if somebody special is coming. So it talked about leadership. It talks about being prepared, looking forward. ATL is easy to remember for law enforcement. So there was branding that went into that for sure.
Yeah, very intentional
Cool
with
that you
multiple
got that.
layers.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing to that is we believe that when we train with people, when you get to train and operate with people, you're committed for life. And we believe that to our heart and soul. So for us, it's an obligation, a commitment that we're always going to try and stay out in front of issues that police departments are facing and law enforcement leaders are facing, and then try and always be a part of the solution for them, help them craft those answers and strategies.
Yeah, and how do you find a customer or client or an organization, however you refer to them, how do they come to you, and how does that conversation start with the police agency and ATL? They come to you, you go out to them, and what does that initial conversation kind of sound like? Hey, oh my God, we need help, or hey, we don't know what we're looking for, we need this. What are the variety of things that you've been hearing so far from organizations?
Yes to all of that, actually. So we get to meet a lot of amazing people, amazing agencies across the country through our regular jobs and through what we're doing with ATL. And generally, it comes organically through that. So leaders will go through our training and say, I'd like to learn more about this. Or if it's a multi-agency training, they then say, our agency needs more help on, say, for example, culture. And so they'll engage us to come do that. We're not big salespeople. We're not trying to pitch. We do this because we love it. The money part is a logistical part of it, but that is not what's driving us. We're not trying to get X amount of bookings or X amount of engagements. And it actually leaves us open and free to help agencies as they come across a problem. So one of the things is, oh, help, we're in big trouble. People that have gone through our training will literally, we tell them, here's our personal cell numbers. They'll text or say, this is what we're facing. Can you help? And we pretty much drop everything. We have done that in the past and dig into what the issue is and help guide them through that, because a lot of the agencies we work with are not as developed, I guess, as Avondale is. Avondale is a model agency. We love Avondale. We love everything you have here. But some of the agencies we deal with are small. There are 10 to 50 sworn, and they don't have the resources that we've had in our experience. So being old, 25 years experience, we've seen a lot, and we get it from the law enforcement side. So we're able to help them that way.
Yeah, I see Avondale. I've been here for 12 years, and so and on this show we get to talk to a lot of employees, and they just talk about. We've even had cops in here talking about the 90s.
Yeah.
And I just think about a rich history.
90s.
I'm like, were you guys born in the 90s?
Yeah.
Sometime in the 90s.
Yeah, they're talking about the 1900s. And,
Wow. 90s, the 20th century.
Yeah.
and it just reminds me that it takes time to build a rich culture, a rich history. And the more people that you have, the more dynamic it is. And I guess a lot of agencies don't have that history yet. They're still making their own history. So
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say it just takes one bad, incident or one problem to sometimes derail an agency. And so the road back to the tracks can sometimes be long and difficult. And so we like to try and be a part of, helping that happen. Sometimes when you bring someone in that has no iron in the fire, we're just simply there to help. It's just a new face. It's a way that we can come in and maybe mend some things and help get through some issues. Not that Avondale needs any of that, by the way. Avondale is a great agency, very healthy culture. The fact that we were asked to come and do this, I think, really demonstrates just how healthy the culture is, because you have that focus on lifelong learning, lifelong development. Leadership is it's nothing you can ever be an expert in. If you think you're an expert, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
The way we lead today is different than the way we led just 5 years ago, or certainly the way we led in the 1990s. I know you guys have no memory of that.
No.
But the reality is true, and so you have to always be adapting and evolving and growing and learning. And if you're not the type of person that wants to do that, you're going to get left behind pretty quick.
Yeah.
That kind of segues nicely for this question that I had, that it's not totally fleshed out. So you help me out if I need it, Benny. You mentioned earlier talking about like the growth of your career and over the years, and I would like your input on this too, Naomi, is that you mentioned mentors, and I'm curious, like, how did those mentors come into your path? Did you seek them out? If you didn't, how would you recommend people be open to those mentors?
Yeah.
And then also, how does that connect to, like, you're talking about mentors individually, but you guys are kind of like mentors for an organization. Yeah. And it kind of connects that way too. I'm thinking, okay, so that's like organizations are looking for mentors.
Sure.
Too, in this sense.
What a neat take on that. I hadn't thought about it that way.
And that didn't need fleshing out at all. That was very well stated.
Well, I was confused, but go ahead, Rich.
I'll tell you,
We'll go slow.
And this is when we talk to folks about leadership, we get very personal. These are things of the heart and soul, and I think to think of them any differently is not an example of servant leadership. When you serve others, you love them. You're doing so because you love them. Much like, I don't know if you guys are parents,
yes,
but
yes.
The way you look at your kids, even when they make mistakes, there's nothing they could do that would cause you to stop loving them, right? Yeah. And I think that's true of a leadership relationship as well. So when I have a phenomenal mentor way back when I was in the U.S. Air Force. And I don't know why, Chief Taylor, I don't know why he thought that he should spend time with me. I didn't deserve it, I'll tell you that. But he was just very special in my life and would go out of his way to have meaningful conversations with me and teach me things. And when we teach, I talk about him a lot. And to this day, when I'm struggling with a difficult issue or how I should handle something, I can hear his lessons, way back in the bowels of my very old brain, kind of still talking to me. He had such an impact on me. What does that mean, though, to him? And what does that mean to us? And what should that mean to you guys? You guys have a lot of time on now. It's a very special gift to be able to share with others. It's a meaningful relationship. When you care about others, when you truly want to be a servant leader, then it comes very naturally. And everyone's human. Everyone has an ego. Everyone's going to sometimes slip up. But it's just in the recognition of, okay, what's really motivating me here? And if it's to help others, then I'm on the right track. If I'm just trying to self-promote or self-promotion, I'm probably on the wrong track. So
Yeah, that's when we most crash in on ourselves.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's doomed to fail. I hope I answered your question right. But
You did.
It's
Yeah.
it's a very personal and special, I think, relationship, mentor and the one being and the recipient of that mentorship.
Yeah.
And both benefit. In fact, I think sometimes the mentor benefits more. Just with think of it. I'll go back to your kids again. When you teach your children how to do something and they get it, or they even do it better than you did, which happens to me all the time. How much you're just beaming with pride. And I think that's the same relationship that should exist in leadership.
Absolutely. You guys have mentioned a couple things or you just said that you're really impressed with Avondale. Can you share a couple of particulars? Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's something specific or broad too, but just something that you're really appreciating that you're seeing. We love it here. We're big fans. This is the only agency that we've known. But what are some things that you're seeing that you really appreciate? Or things that we need to work on.
Just kidding. It's like a very intense.
or both.
Why don't you go?
I would like to point out the fact that community is super important to Avondale. When we just did the facilitation last week on culture, the soul of the organization, we asked 50 employees who were hand-selected by command staff to participate. Sorry, you guys weren't there. It wasn't that important.
Yeah, what the heck?
They don't want to hear from us.
Oh my God.
It wasn't that
I think you
important.
were just busy. That's what they told
Yes,
us.
right.
Yeah.
Someone put our names in and then someone took them out is what happened.
For sure.
Yeah, we're going to get down to the bottom of this.
Okay. Don't tell them that I told you. Anyway, we asked them, why do they like working here? What is their purpose? What's the agency's purpose? What, as an individual, are they trying to get out of being an Avondale employee? And across the board, there were several themes that impressed us. Community, being part of the community, serving the community, character, change and innovation,
Empathy.
selfless service. All of those came out from 50 people who were not talking to each other. We had them do it as an exercise first. And to have that unity and have that message throughout an organization, sworn professional staff, different years of tenure, different ranks, that is amazing. And that is unusual. I call it, you guys are a unicorn. It's very, very
incredible.
unusual.
That now I'm realizing why they didn't include us, because Benny knows I would have written money on that.
That's why you got into it, for the very high-paying job and the appreciation.
Exactly.
I'm here for the money.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, we asked them for some stories. And since you guys do a lot of community policing, somebody shared a story about they had a dad that had barricaded. The marshals were after them. And he barricaded with his children. And instead of, once he went into custody, instead of just leaving that family, the officers took it upon themselves to bring food to the children because they'd been inside barricaded in this home under a very stressful situation, and their father was taken away. And instead of just being, wipe your hands of it and I've done my job, they went above and beyond and had compassion and empathy and hopefully shaped those kids' view of the police, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I've heard so many different stories from individuals that work here, and it's all genuine and all from the heart, and it's really inspiring.
And this is a legit serious question. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
So
ready,
we're not
I'm
gonna
serious.
we're not gonna laugh.
Renee,
Okay.
is that atypical? Because I just assume that happens everywhere.
No, that is atypical.
Which is actually a very beautiful sentiment on your part, because this is all you know, and this is all you've ever known in law enforcement anyway. And so the fact that that is 100% your perspective shows that that's the culture of this organization. Feeling everyone that we've come across, if we've ever needed anything, just logistically, jumping over each other to make sure we have what we need. That it's just a very dynamic and connected group of people that are all driving in the same direction, which is what you hope to see in every law enforcement agency. When that's how you treat each other, that's how you're going to treat the community,
The guests who come in.
So
Does that make your job harder as from your perspective? Because I know what you guys do is so nuanced. Like I have all these bullets from your website. There's like 10,000 different things that you guys do in like leadership. But when you see a place that's like functioning really, really well, does it make your job harder of like, okay, where can we find
the
where they
growth
need,
or the opportunities.
Yeah.
And
So
if go ahead.
No, please.
I was going to say, and if so, what are some things that you find for opportunities for us? I don't know if you can. Well, you guys are presenting to command, so save it for them, but maybe give us one thing if
Yeah,
you
sure.
can, or something if you
Maybe
can.
for Benny, like
So
there's
I
an
think
opportunity for.
Here's first of all, is it hard to find opportunities for growth or development? The answer is no. Because the world around us is ever evolving, then sometimes, because we've been able to get around and see other departments and see what's going on in the country, and different parts of the country are in different, political states and different community relation states. And so being able to share some of those things about what we're seeing going on out there helps everyone, I think, get a perspective of, okay, maybe this is something we need to be ready for, or this really doesn't apply to us. But when you have a really solid group of people marching in the same direction, now it's just really about, hey, let's define our culture. Here, do an exercise for me right now, guys. I want you to put your arms up over your head as high as you can. Okay. Now go higher. Oh, look at that.
Oh, stretching.
Look at that.
Dang,
Yeah.
I,
Look at these
I didn't
biceps.
think about that.
Look
No
at these
matter how
biceps.
how high you think you've reached,
You can go farther.
you can always go farther.
Yeah.
It's always possible to really the goal here is in the effort of striving for excellence. It's not reaching some sort of a tape that you run through. Yeah. It's just, and that's, I would think, what keeps everyone in the right mind space to keep a healthy culture alive and to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the elements of a healthy culture is when, there's stuff we won't stand for here.
Yeah.
And,
it changes the meaning of success. It's not when we reach this point,
Yes.
we're done and we've
Yes.
made it. It's we've reached this point, and yet where else can we flesh out or nuance more of who we are and how we do?
You bet.
So that's a really different way of seeing it.
The other thing, and I don't know if you want to get into the specific shit, but one of the things when we talk about an organization's values, and we've all been doing this for years with values. For a while in my department, it was excellence, initiative, and integrity. Those are great words. They sound great. They're on the walls in the briefing rooms and in the station, the lobby. But the reality is they're just three words, that they're platitudes. It could mean something different to other people, each person that reads them.
Sure.
And so we follow a model of foundational behaviors, and this comes out of a book called Culture by Design by Friedman. It's a great book. It's an easy read, but basically it examines really healthy cultures in the corporate world. Ritz-Carlton, Chick-fil-A, Discount Tire. As I'm saying these, you're probably like, yeah, I go
They're
there.
huge. Yeah.
Well, why do you feel drawn to be a repeat customer, a lifelong customer for some of these places? Well, it's because of the way they make you feel when you go. And so foundational behaviors are action terms. Instead of integrity, excellence, it might be something like be a lifelong learner, or assume positive intent. That's one of my favorites. All right, because our foundational behaviors, we assume positive intent.
And places like Discount have these kinds of values?
Well, I don't know that they all subscribe to this model, but certainly Ritz-Carlton does. But they definitely are following a method of something more than words, but action.
The action is going to demonstrate who we are.
Exactly.
Right. So you're going to get more than just the belief or the value. You're going to get the demonstration, and that demonstration will speak on behalf
really
of that
should have
value.
been there last week.
You bet.
And it reminds you of what to do.
Yeah.
Like as an
100%,
employee, when you
yes.
see an action, it's very clear, okay, that's how I act. Versus like if you see integrity,
Yeah.
well, what does that
Leaves
mean?
it up to interpretation.
Every
We
single
all know what it
individual's-
means.
Right.
But yeah. So just imagine, one of my favorites is assume positive intent. I want you to imagine a workplace where everyone was assuming positive intent from everyone else. So when you got that email that seemed a little snarky, as opposed to just going, what the heck, what's this guy, which happens to all of us.
Yep.
Just, kind of resetting yourself and saying, foundationally here at the Avondale PD, we assume positive intent. Until we're proven otherwise.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I have a similar line I use is always give the most generous interpretation to people's actions and words.
That is a
love that.
phenomenal foundation.
Where were you?
Yeah.
It was Wednesday last week.
What? Yeah.
You should
I'm gonna
start doing that
I'm
with
texting
me.
Chief now.
Yeah, exactly.
You should write that
on
down, or
recording.
we should include that.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
a
good one.
wonderful foundational behavior.
I love that. That's so good. And I love the idea of being mindful of platitudes, because it's just, not too long, but I started in 2013 and you or just before me, but we use those same words, and at least for 10 years, and I'm sure they've been around.
Serve with honor.
Yeah. Serving with honor or integrity or excellence or teamwork. And I wonder, what is going on in the organization's mind to say, like, what happened when the organization says, okay, we're done with that, we need something new?
Yeah, I don't think it has to be any great epiphany or transition in the mind. It's just something of that attitude of I know we can be better. We're great, but I know we can be better, and we're always striving for greatness here.
Growth
and
mindset.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Just keeping that at the forefront of your brain that there can always be something. You ask any Olympic athlete, Michael Phelps, for example, and he won all these gold medals, and I think he took 2 days off and went right back to the pool. Like, I got to win next time too. Herb Brooks, the great hockey coach of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team that won, was
Beat
never
Russia.
supposed to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, when they won the gold medal, of course, the team flooded the ice, and they wanted Herb out there, and where was he? He went to the locker room. It's time to start planning for next time. So
nice.
It's not about not enjoying your success, but it is just a mindset of, great, we achieved this goal, but we can always be better.
Yeah.
And it sets you up for a lot of great conversations. So recognizing one another or correcting one another, helping them grow. We give the example of show genuine appreciation is one of their...
Meaningful, yeah. Show meaningful
appreciation.
Yeah.
And so imagine you saw a fellow officer, or as a supervisor, you saw one of your team members doing something great. You can come out and say, Officer Jones, that was an amazing way to show meaningful appreciation. This is how it made the other person feel. That was a great example of our foundational behavior. So you can give them that award.
Yeah.
Conversely, say you have somebody that was having a bad day, assume positive intent. They didn't wake up that morning thinking that they were going to drop a bunch of F-bombs on the community, but it happened, and
Right.
OBC caught it. But assume positive intent and have a discussion with that officer and say, Officer, we treat others with kindness and professionalism.
Yeah.
And this was an opportunity where you didn't live up to that, and I think you can improve. Instead of saying, don't do that, or you were wrong, it brings the foundational behavior of, here's what's expected. You missed expectations, but I know you can do better. It just frames things in a way of shaping your behavior and being able to give that positively and negative feedback.
And what's the importance of giving that positive feedback? Specifically, like if I was going to give something like that for my wife. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like with the employee, like what's the return on investment for doing that from a leadership perspective?
Well, first of all, let's go back to our foundation, which is servant leadership, right? So what is my goal when I have this conversation? Is it to actually communicate with you in a way where we understand each other? Maybe there's a growth opportunity and you move forward and that never happens again? Or is it really that I'm angry with you and I just want to let you have it today and exude my authority over you? One is very clearly in the Servant Leadership Foundation, and one is not very clearly in the Servant Leadership Foundation, right? So as a servant leader, we should be asking ourselves all the time, well, what am I trying to achieve here? Officer Jones made a mistake. He normally doesn't behave that way. And do I want to go chew him out? Or is my goal to keep the communication open so that we talk to one another and I might learn something, like maybe his child is really sick today, so there could be something causing the behavior that, if as a servant leader, it's my goal to get to that so that I can be a good leader for him. And in the same, it's that scenario is fairly easy for everyone to understand. But now I want you to think about leading laterally, like peer-to-peer leadership, or even leading up. All right.
Yeah.
You have to you have to lead up. Your boss is counting on you. And all the folks that work for me know, if I'm going down the wrong road and you just watch me go, I'm going to be disappointed. I need your help. I need your insight. I need your perspective. I'm asking you for it, So what's the purpose? What's the goal behind these interactions? And then foundational behaviors allow you to frame this in such a way that keeps that communication open, or reminds employees, hey, this is what we all signed into. This is what we signed up for.
Yeah.
When we did the exercise that we're going to talk to the chiefs and command staff about today, we're telling you a few that we use, that we've learned over the years, but that's not the exercise. We say, we want you to develop what are Avondale's foundational behaviors. So they took part in a facilitation where we developed 100 foundational behaviors, and then we had them all vote on which ones they were most fond of. And so that's part of the presentation to command staff today is here. And by the way, they're all amazing.
Lights.
Power bill.
That's okay. Our cameras still look good.
It's covered up.
Yeah, that's all right. We look even better now in the dark. So.
Yeah.
I look way much.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So it's really, for us anyway, it's about sort of drawing out. Especially in a healthy culture, we want to learn. So, hey, tell us how you do what you do. And then we'll bring the average of everyone up as opposed to everyone settling to the average.
Are you still getting, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Are you still getting any kind of like pushback from like maybe older school being like, but we can't be just telling them all the time what a good job they're doing. Like they don't need that. Like, and how do you, what's the
I'm
response
part of that
to that?
Old school. Just saying.
Yeah. Like, they did their job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, can I plug in my question along with that? Because it's along the same lines, but to what you were saying, Naomi, that changing that conversation, and you too, Rich, what you're saying is like, you're not just trying to make a point. You're trying to find out what's best for this officer that makes it best for the organization. What is the barrier for the person who has to approach that conversation? Is it, I don't know how to use the right vocabulary. Maybe I have the empathy, but I don't know how to express it. Maybe I'm just done. I'm cynical and I'm jaded. Like what are some common barriers, and what would you give as an advice to those leaders to be able to handle or be more confident in those discussions? A couple of tools that they can rely on in those moments. Does that plug in with yours? Okay.
No, but it's a good question.
I can make it plug in. I can make it plug in. Because, Red, what you were asking about is the generational gaps, the differences in how somebody my age learns versus somebody your age learns, or how we like to communicate. You know, I tell people, I have my phone, but please don't call me on it. I don't use it that way. Just send me a text. But old school is more used to having face-to-face conversations. The younger generation, and I say younger, I mean 35 and below, so you're like, that's not young, but it is. The younger generation wants to feel like they're part of a purpose, that they have a reason for being here, and they want to know the why. And in my generation, we're like, I got a paycheck. That's my job. I was told to do that.
Yeah.
So we have lots of conversations across the country because the folks who are leaving the agency that are going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years are leaving it to the younger generation. And to your point about not necessarily having the tools to have that conversation, it has to start with mutual respect. So younger generation is like, you guys are ruining it for us. Stop working overtime. Stop working all the time. You know, you have heart attacks because you're too stressed. The other generation says, you need days off. What? You
called in sick for a cold?
Right. Yeah. You called in sick, period. The fact that you take, sick days. But we can learn a lot from that. We look at the mental health of younger generation and the balance they have and the perspective they have. And people our age could really benefit from that. Being able to bridge that gap, generational gap, and having the tools to have that conversation and the intent to have that conversation is really, we don't have all the answers, but that to me is a key. Being able to think about the other generation, because by the way, there are 5 generations in the workforce today, which is crazy when you think about that.
Yeah.
But being able to be willing to say, I can learn something from you, and you can learn something from me. If that means that we're going to put in a different learning system, if the younger generation wants to do things online and answer questions online or fill out timesheets online, the older generation wants to do it in a spreadsheet and a handwrite and the eraser or whatever. Finding value in all of that and finding some sort of commonality. And that's where the culture comes in. If we respect others and we want to learn from others and we value others, you can get past all of the us, them.
Yeah. And then suddenly communication isn't about, what's quickest and what documents the best way, right? It's more about how do we mutually respect each other in our communication, regardless of how much work it takes. The work is reaching a place of respect and appreciation for each other.
Right.
That's the real work that is worth the time and the energy. Yeah.
It's what makes our lives fulfilling, quite frankly. You give out a pay raise, which I'm sure you guys wouldn't mind, and you're going to enjoy that pay raise for about 2 or 3 pay periods, and then you're going to forget all about it, and it's going to just move on. Yeah. But when you feel valued by the organization that you give so much of your time and life to, that your family sacrifices so that you can be here, not to mention the things that we have to do in this job and all the pressure and stress that has on families. When you can feel valued in that space and feel like you're really important and you're really contributing, well, then it doesn't matter if the guys next door get paid, 50 cents more an hour. What is that worth? What is that worth to feel that way every day when you go to work, as opposed to feeling absolutely miserable?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we just want to know that we're making a difference and that we belong.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
this is the place where we can experience both of those things.
That reminds me of the love you talked about earlier.
Yeah, I'm not shy about using those kinds of words. I think they're truly important to us, and just because we're in a workplace as opposed to our home, it doesn't change that we're interacting with human beings. We like to say that we think of organizations as these big, solid, they're made of stone, they have cars and trucks, and when you think of the organization, air quotes, you're thinking of this hard, rigid place. But you shouldn't think of it that way. It's living, it's breathing, it's full of people. All right. So the people make the organization what it is. And therefore, living bodies need to be fed and nurtured and loved and cared for. Sometimes they get cancer and you got to cut something out of it. That's the reality to keeping an organization healthy.
Mm-hmm. Man, we're already into 35 minutes, and I want to get you guys out of here. But before we do, I want to ask, can you just give us a summary of the 4 pillars of servant leadership? What would an organization expect out of that? And what would an organization expect out of culture, the soul of the organization?
Sure. So, first of all, our foundation is servant leadership. We teach servant leadership. You may hear all kinds of leadership styles. I'm an autocratic leader. I'm a democratic leader. I'm authoritative leader, right? Everyone, when you go to a leadership class, you generally get some kind of personality profile, and it tells you who you are, how you communicate, and then you learn the kind of leader that you are. And it's okay to know those things, but we kind of chuck that to the side, because I can give you great examples of the best of each one of those styles, but at their heart, they were servant leaders. And so that's what we talk about. It's really about a mindset of others before self at all times. So we teach servant leadership, but then we teach leadership from 4 perspectives: operational, administrative, strategic, and political. And it'd take us a couple hours to get into all of those, but we go through those 4 pillars of leadership and show how you can grow and develop in all of those. And depending on your role in the organization, you might have to spend more time in some of those pillars versus the other. So operational leadership is what you guys are doing right now. This is your job. Your job is to get all the things we talked about, I think, before we went live. You have all those duties that you have to do every day, including, podcasts and really representing the public face of the organization. You probably have a long filled up calendar of all the things that you have to do. Operational leadership is the getting done of all those things. So that's pretty easy to understand. Administrative leadership are all the policies and training and all the things that make sure you can do that well, right?
Yeah, the planning.
The inventories, the inspections. Sometimes we have to pull disciplinary files, right?
Yeah, auditing.
The auditing, right. Yeah. Those are all, or accreditation. Those are all
Yeah.
administrative functions that have to be done as well.
Very important.
And then you have strategic leadership. Now, strategic leadership is what it sounds like. It's thinking strategically. Well, what does the organization look like 5 and 10 years from now? And everyone pretty much understands that one, but it's within strategic leadership that we talk about culture. Because if you don't have a healthy culture, none of those other things are going to matter. And then political leadership is very much about relationships. I know, I see the looks on your face. When we talk politics, people generally start to cringe, right?
It's a bad word these days.
It is.
It's just one of those tough words these days. But
So it can be
it's required.
It can be just something as simple as this, that you folks, you two in particular, go out and you meet with all kinds of community groups, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just taking a moment to think about, we're going to go meet with this group, and maybe they very much want us to be arresting folks for being homeless in this forum. And maybe in the next meeting you go to, it might be people that are saying, stop arresting homeless.
Help them out.
Provide
Give
more
them
resources.
Yeah.
Just taking a moment to think about, this is the room I'm walking into. What is it that they're hoping to get from this conversation? And how can I best represent, ambassadorially, how can I represent the police department?
Yes.
So political leadership is about the value of relationships and the capital that you can literally build up just simply by navigating your relationships out there.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're building and strengthening, and in a sincere way, not like
Not to
use car
manipulate
salesman
or
way.
take advantage of people.
In a
right?
sincere way,
Don't be a
just
sociopath.
connecting. Exactly.
Right? That should be a foundational behavior. Yes.
So those are the four pillars, but I'll let you go on about the soul of the organization.
No, the four pillars, really, the way I look at it is, if I were going to present something to you guys, I need to understand your frame of reference. What have you done in the past? What do you know? And I want to think about it. I think about it as a table. You can sit in the operational chair, the administrative chair, the strategic chair, and the political chair. And if I have considered all of those, the four pillars, if I've considered all of those when I put the proposal together, I should have already presented something that, no matter where you are in the organization or what your stakeholder, your interest is in the proposition, I can present it in a way that it's valuable to you. Instead of just coming in and saying, well, of course you should do this because it's going to save us X amount of money and, we're going to stop losing people. That is one way. But if that's not what you're worried about, if what you're worried about is providing service to the community, I need to say, here's how this proposal helps you provide service to the community. If you're worried about the dollars and cents, I will bring up that point to you as well. It all helps us to support the proposal. So what we talk about is the four pillars. As you are, first line supervisor, you got to make sure that job is done every day. As you move up to LT, you've got sergeants who can take care of the operational. They're really good at it. But you need to make sure that administratively we're buttoned up, that you have policies and procedures, that you've done training, the accreditation. Doesn't mean that you don't look into the operational world, and it doesn't mean as a sergeant you don't look up the ranks and look at administrative, but your intentional focus changes. Then once you get to be captain or commander or whatever the next rank is, you've got your sergeants and lieutenants dealing with operational administrative. Now you're really focused on what is the culture of our agency?
Yeah.
And you're starting to look ahead to what community group or what budget stuff do I need to be worried about? And then as you're at the highest ranks, political is super important.
Yeah.
You need community
the integrity
support.
of the integrity and the perspective of the organization from the community, right?
Absolutely.
The trust.
That's the level we're at.
Oh yeah.
That's the political level.
I would absolutely trust you guys for that.
I'll tell
I'm
you
sorry,
one-
but continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Thing,
I just
and one more thing about the way we teach, and we always teach through stories. So we don't just stand up there and lecture and PowerPoint you to death. We share real life case examples that best illustrate these four pillars. And so we've done a lot of research, congressional records and things, and we really try and immerse the class into this event. And by the way, none of them are related to law enforcement, believe it or not.
Nice.
We do that on purpose.
Very cool.
So anyway, that's pretty much the program if we had to give it to you in 10 minutes.
that's very cool. I think about all those
Hope
four.
I get to go one day.
So it must be really exciting if you come into an organization and the leaders, especially at that command staff level, they tend to exhibit all those different four pillars naturally to some extent.
Absolutely. I think they all have it's nice when somebody can really kind of clearly define what it is that you're doing instinctively. It's like, yes, that's exactly, okay, now I have a better way to define it. Now, as I'm going to mentor others, I have a better way to describe it and explain it. When we put the four pillars up there and we talk about advancement through the organization, like Naomi started to say, if you're a first line supervisor or an FTO, you're handling all that operational administrative stuff. But if you have a goal to be a lieutenant, well, now lieutenants are generally over here doing these things. I'm going to get you some exposure to that. I'm going to put you on a committee. I'm going to have you represent us in this proposal. We're trying to get grapplers or something. I'm going to have you do that so that you can start to experience what that next level of leadership looks like.
That's awesome. You're creating mentors too.
Exactly.
And good mentees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We're both on call for or on rotation for the PIO. Yeah. So it's funny talking about PIO statements and media releases because we'll call the sergeants on scene. They'll give us the operational side, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And then we'll talk to Chief Memo, and he'll give us like the political, the liability, the optics, the integrity. How are we communicating? Yep. So you're right. It's just so interesting, and we're in such a privileged position where we get to just communicate all that.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat seat that you're in because you really are getting a good look at all sides of those things. from your seats now. So when you want to promote, and I hope you do at some point, they both laugh.
Yeah, we've discussed this. We've discussed this at length, and we're both a no.
See
but-
Dios quiere.
Yeah. But let me say if. By the way, you don't need rank to be a leader.
You do
Let
not.
me just say that
I love
first and
that.
foremost. But ultimately, if you want to formalize that leadership, then boy, what a great exposure you've had sort of to all sides of it. There's few positions that really give you that exposure, but that's one of them. We had a chief that was going through a crisis up in Idaho, called us for some help. And again, small department, not a lot of exposure to media relations and understanding what to do with press releases and things like that. And so he called, we helped, and wrote him some new stuff. We provided training for him where we literally, it was still kind of COVID times, and so we had him on a Zoom meeting, but we were firing away questions at him, for it
Mock
eventually
press
ended
conference.
in a press conference.
But we trained him for it. We gave him bridging phases. We helped create the messages he wanted to put out there. So if you were trying to get me off my game and you asked a question,
Block and bridge.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
What's important to remember here is,
Yeah.
so we trained him before we threw him to the wolves.
That's great.
And he did great. And so we actually went up there for the press conference just to offer him some support, and
that's so
met
cool.
the mayor, and the mayor asked, hey, could you help me with some of that? And we were like, of
That's
course,
awesome.
Nice.
So those are the kind of things we do, but just out
Yeah.
of commitment. We didn't charge that chief anything for that. It's really just kind of part of our dedication to our own servant leaders.
Yeah.
So if there is an organization or a leader that needs a little bit of one-on-one stuff, you guys also provide those services.
Absolutely.
If they need that, maybe they don't
You
want,
bet.
weeks of training. They just have a specific problem.
To work through.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
sometimes having that person who's totally uninvolved that can just sort of listen. We had another chief in Utah was going through something, crisis up there, called. He thought, man, this is a pretty major crisis. And as we looked into it, we're like, really, this is not that big of a deal.
Compared to what else is going on, you guys are
just
great.
kind of helped them, help them really.
Put it
Because
in
sometimes when
Contextualize
you're,
it.
Yes.
yeah, if you're
exactly.
standing in the middle of a 4-foot fire, you still feel like you're on fire.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So it takes another person to come along and go, actually, we can put this out pretty quickly.
Yeah, light the room up a little bit.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been such a pleasure having you, and I know you guys got to get going. You're going to meet with our command staff and give them some. What are you doing today with
Everything
command
we
staff?
just did with you. So don't release this until we're done.
Just hit stop and then we'll play it. For them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys should really get into the dad joke business, because I could see you guys killing it with dad jokes.
Some dad
Yeah.
jokes.
I do them at home like 10 to 15 times a
Yeah.
day with
Yeah.
my girls, but they hate it. So
Well, it's not about
Do the
liking
dog
it.
one.
Which
the
one?
dog one.
Okay.
let's hear it.
Okay. Let me think. Oh, okay. I recently adopted a dog from a blacksmith,
Yeah.
and as soon as I got him home, he made a bolt for the door.
Oh, that was a good one.
Made a bolt for the door. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that one when I get home.
Please do.
My girls are they're gonna hate me and they're gonna hate you for it, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it.
That's a really
It's
good one.
again.
I like
It's
that
not.
one.
It's not about being alike.
You're right.
Yeah. It's not the purpose.
It's the
Yeah.
groan.
The
Yeah,
purpose
it's
is
to
to make
groan.
them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's true. Get them rolling their eyes. Just
Exactly.
Dad,
That is exactly
you're
it.
terrible.
You've seen
Yeah.
that before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At work, probably.
Yeah.
I do it to them all the
Yeah,
time.
I
Yeah.
figured.
Well, thank you so much for being here, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We really appreciate it, and thank you for coming to Avondale and giving us all your wealth of experience and wisdom. And
We take more away than we
It's
give,
an honor,
for sure.
an absolute honor to come here and be asked to come. So thank you guys. Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing.
thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
See ya.